play-by-play of the second period as the teams have returned to the ice. And just before we do, I mentioned that in Boston at the end of the first period, the Bruins are leading Detroit 1-0 on a goal by Ted Green. The Rangers have tied things up in Toronto. Bob Nevin from Sealing and Nielsen at 1:52 of the second period. That's 2-2 now, New York and Toronto.
Chicago won, Montreal won, and we're getting set for the start of period number 2. Scoring in the hockey game, Beliveau for Montreal, Mikita for Chicago. Mikita will have to go over to the penalty box. He still has 36 seconds remaining in his minor. And Lemaire and Ravlich have taken up positions in the penalty box. Ferguson still there for Montreal. Stapleton, who has played a great first period for Chicago, plays it off the boards. It goes to Nestorenko. He cleared it to the Canadiens line. Russo, a pass for Beliveau. Beliveau turning with Dick Duff. A long right wing pass. Cournoyer trying to dart in there. Dryden, a clearing pass, hit Dick Duff. Now Beliveau trying to come up with it. And a backhand shot off the boards by Chico Mackey sends the Canadiens deep into their own territory. 5 seconds remaining now in Stan Mikita's penalty. Here's Duff, a pass for Ralph Backstrom. He hops into the corner, getting sent to center. He does. Mikita back on the ice. Mikita passing it back to Jarrett on the defense. Jarrett got away from Backstrom down on the left wing, cleared it ahead to Mikita, going in with Chico Mackey, who is in there ahead of him. People are thinking that Stan Mikita's in a bad slump, but you know, right now with that goal, he is 10 points ahead of last year's pace. Richard, Duff and Russo, Pitt Martin, Pappen, and Dennis Hull for the Chicago Blackhawks. Dick Duff handing it off to Ted Harris. Harris waiting for somebody to get into position to Richard. Richard for Russo off the boards. A scoop back in by Dennis Hull, and it's J.C. Tremblay for Montreal. Score tied 1-1. Here's Richard gathering speed, coming out. He's jammed out of the play by Pappen. Stapleton ahead to Dennis Hull. He couldn't catch up with it. It's at the point. Dennis Hull shoots it right on the target. A backhand shot by Pappen. And Esposito made 2 saves. There's another shot. Pitt Martin fanned on it. The puck actually didn't come down to the ice where he could make solid contact. Pitt Martin has been injured.
Martin went down heavily just at the side of the crease. We'll see if we can pick it up here on the replay as the shot is fired in. The Canadiens slow in clearing as Harris in front of the net can't get that puck. And Pappen just missed a great chance, but finally, after it bounces around out in front of Esposito, the Canadiens managed to smother it. There's Martin. There he is hitting the ice, as we mentioned, very heavily, and he's over at the Chicago bench now getting attention from trainer Nick Guerin. Just a word about Tony Esposito. He played college hockey in the United States at Michigan Tech, where he gained All-American mention last year, turned pro with Vancouver in the Western League, appeared in 62 games, registered 4 shutouts. Of course, the younger brother of Boston's Phil. Nervous kind of a goalie in a way, one of those fellas that always moves around, clearing the snow from his crease, always busy.
Jarrett back for Chicago. Slides the pass to Howie Young. Beliveau almost hooked it to get it in front. Recovered by Howie Young out on the left wing to Mons. Mons coming down for the Hawks. Cuts over to the other side, hands it off to Mikita. Here's Mikita shooting it. Off the boards, Doug Mons tried to get it. It's slapped down the ice by Cournoyer. Jarrett is back after it. Howie Young picking it up. A right wing pass to Warm. Warm over on this side for Mons. He just cleared it down on the left wing, and darting back for Montreal is Savard. Score tied 1-1. Savard lost it. It's recovered by Gilles Tremblay ahead to Beliveau. Beliveau winds up for the hard high drive. Off the left wing boards, Jarrett starts out over the line. The checking is a bit closer here in the early stages of the second period. than it was in the first. Cournoyer couldn't get that pass, gobbled up by Jarrett. Ahead it goes. Makita to the other side. Now Gilles Tremblay coming down a pass, misses Cournoyer, and Dryden handing it off to Doug Mons. Mons for Makita. Over to the other side to Kenny Warm. He clears it into the Canadian zone, and it's Savard back there to pick it up. We've played exactly 3 minutes in the second period. Savard, a good rushing defenseman, tried to headman that puck to Cournoyer. Bobby Hull, he played exactly 6 minutes of hockey in the first period. Howie Young clearing it to the corner. Beliveau centering it. It's Howie Young putting it right out to Dick Duff, and he fired and missed. Stapleton starting out. Ahead to Bobby Hull, coming down. Backstrom starts back, doesn't get very far. It's Hull again for Chicago. Coming in on that right side, trying to get the shot away, and he slid it wide. Nestorenko on the boards against Savard. Here's Nestorenko, back it comes to Mackey off his stick. A back pass, Backstrom to Dick Duff. At center, over on the right side to Backstrom. He slapped it in toward the boards. Backstrom centering it. Hull takes over for Chicago. Finally gets it out off a stick, and it hopped over the stick of Chico Mackey. J.C. Tremblay to Provo. He clears it into the Hawk zone, and Gilles Murat being watched by Ralph Backstrom. Murat. Provo gets it. Duff scores! Dick Duff!
The Canadiens capitalize on sloppy clearing by Gilles Murat right there as he puts it right onto the stick of Provo. Over to Duff, and a very quick shot low to the glove side, and Dryden can't reach it into that lower left-hand corner, and Dick Duff has given the Canadiens a 2-1 lead here early in the second period. For Duff, that's his third goal of the season. His last one, of course, was a milestone, number 250.
Canadian goal scored by Dick Duff, assisted by Provo. The time 4:16.
At 4:16, Provo setting up Dick Duff to give Montreal a 2-1 lead. Is J.C. Tremblay ahead, and he missed Richard with that pass. Howie Young put it on Dick Duff's stick. It's at the Chicago line, and Young starting out. Up front for Chicago, we have Schmatz along with Papin and Dennis Hull. Off the boards, it goes to Papin. He centers it into the corner. Dennis Hull against J.C. Tremblay. Tremblay to Russo. Russo neatly got away from Dennis Hull to Richard, and as Jarrett for the Hawks turning and missing a pass intended for Schmatz. J.C. Tremblay knocked off balance by Dennis Hull, and there's going to be a penalty here. Penalty to the Chicago Blackhawks. Dennis Hull. And now Bobby Schmatz was knocked to the ice. He and Richard had words. Hockey Night in Canada is bringing you this game between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Montreal Canadiens. We'll return when play resumes. All of the Hawks off for tripping at 5:12, and the penalties to Ravlich and Lemaire have expired. And now Toronto leading New York 4-2 in the second period.
The third Toronto goal, Keon from Quinn and Oliver at 4:35, and then Normie Ullman unassisted at 9:07. Ullman has 2 goals and 1 assist tonight for the Maple Leafs.
Beliveau, Lemaire, Cournoyer, J.C. Tremblay, and Bobby Russo on the power play for Montreal. We have Chico Mackey 16 as a penalty killer with Nestorenko. Jarrett on defense with Ravlich, who clears it to the Canadian zone, and Russo fired it to center to Cournoyer. Cournoyer forced into his own zone against Chico Mackey. Cournoyer to J.C. Tremblay, leading a 4-man Montreal attack at center. A long drive. Dryden is watching Beliveau. It's into the corner. In there goes J.C. Tremblay, and it's Nestorenko taking over for Chicago, and he gets it down into the Montreal zone. 1 minute and 25 seconds left in the penalty to Dennis Hull. Montreal 2, Chicago 1, second period. Beliveau out over the line. Ahead for Russo, back for Beliveau. He missed it. And as Russo To the other side to Lemaire. He slapped it into the Chicago zone. Now Jarrett ran into Beliveau. Ravlich clearing it ahead. And is J.C. Tremblay. Tremblay being watched by Nestorenko. Feeds it ahead to Jean Beliveau. To Cournoyer. Cournoyer over to Rousseau. Rousseau to Lemaire. Lemaire trying to work by Ravlich. In on the boards, Lemaire and Ravlich. Now Beliveau gets it free back to Rousseau. Rousseau over the other side to J.C. Tremblay. And now Chico Mackey getting a partial breakaway for Chicago. And he couldn't get by J.C. Tremblay. Tremblay at center with Lemaire and Cournoyer. Tremblay getting away from Jarrett. Centers it to Lemaire. He shoots it. Dryden is down and from in front of the net. Chico Mackey cleared it to the right wing and knocked it down the ice. 13 seconds left in the penalty, and we've played exactly 7 minutes in the second period. 2-1, Montreal. Tremblay again, this time with Richard. Richard going up for the lead pass. He's going right in a goal. He shoots, and he just shot it a half-inch wide. J.C. Tremblay has it knocked away by Nestorenko. Savard playing it on the boards. Dick Duff getting it at the line, hands it off unintentionally to Mons. And now the penalized player, Dennis Hull, is back on. He has it on the left wing, speeding in against Savard, who knocked it away from him and took him into the boards heavily. And then Savard goes down. Here's Nestorenko back. It goes to Marat. The shot. Let's see. It's loose in front of the net and cleared away by Esposito and knocked down the ice. And the Hawks came within a whisker of tying it up there on that shot by Marat that seemed to be screened. This game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
When it's your turn to entertain, choose Molson Canadian. It's the crowd pleaser.
The Blackhawks came very close on that one, and here it is again in the slow motion replay. Marat shooting a low one from just inside the blue line. Dennis Hull lifts his stick up in elation as if the puck had gone in the net, but there you see it out in front of the goal crease with Esposito sprawled on his stomach. Danny, the puck disappeared from our view for a moment. Dennis Hull thought it was in the net.
And Stan Mikita did too. When he came out on the ice, he went to the goal judge. And there you see Mikita getting set now to center off against Beliveau. Back it goes to Orban. The shot right on, and Esposito came up with a fine move on that. Marat ahead. And Mikita has it on the right wing, lobbed it in there, and Savard takes over for Montreal. It's played on the boards, back to the point. Stapleton has shot. Cleared into the corner by LaPerriere. Savard turned around by Orban. Cournoyer up to Gilles Tremblay, back to Cournoyer. Here's Orban and Savard going at it. And Savard getting in a fair number of right hands, and now it's Orban firing back. Orban continues to paw away. I'll tell you, Dick, they're busy at the penalty box, but no busier than linesmen Pavlich and Shetler.
Well, Danny, Bill Orban's father is Dr. Bill Orban, the famed physical fitness expert now at Ottawa University, who was a subject of a very special feature at Hockey Night in Canada recently. And Dr. Orban is here in the crowd tonight watching son Bill play. However, I don't think that the 5BX plan necessarily prescribes fighting on hockey skates as a way to stay in condition. There's Serge Savard, semi-dressed at the present moment, as Orban seems to have got the Savard sweater, and I guess it's ripped by the looks of it there on the front. And here again, Danny, as you mentioned earlier, with Billy Ray up on the bench, very spry. As you mentioned, it's the players with the reach that seem to have the advantage, and Savard certainly has it in that department over Orban. But Orban kept coming back, and here we see the replay of how it all started. In the corner with Orban and Savard, Cournoyer away with the puck, and the play went up to the other end of the ice. The camera is following there, and we lose them for just a moment here as the play continues, but back at that circle to the right of the Canadiens' net, the fight then picked up, as you saw, in live action. But that's how it started, with the two of them jostling down there in the corner. So, once again, Danny, the penalty box doors are open, and they've been open pretty well all evening. Ferguson is now out of there. His misconduct has now been served. This game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
See for yourself why Molson Export Ale is the big ale in the big land. Molson Export Ale, Canada's largest selling ale.
The penalties to Chicago, Bill Orban, and to Canadiens and Serge Savard. 2 minutes each for high sticking, plus 5 minutes each for fighting. The time 8:24.
And there again you have a couple of players getting 7 minutes. There's a shot by Marat that went around the net. Stapleton winds up, and he just was a little wide with Esposito getting over there. 2-1, Montreal leading Chicago. There it is, a backhand shot by Makita, blocked. Cournoyer ahead to Balival down that center, hitting that Chicago line. Balival putting on the brakes, a back pass, and Stapleton had it knocked off his stick, and it's picked up by Makita. Makita with Warm and Moans over the line. Here's Doug Moans going in, takes the shot, and he almost fired that one in off Kenny Warm. Gilles Tremblay to Cournoyer. Cournoyer ahead for Gilles Tremblay, who was offside by a half stride. In that first period, we had a total of 45 minutes in penalties. And up to this point, we have now a total of 61. They're not near the record, but the way they're going, who knows?
Detroit has tied the game in Boston. Gary Bergman on a pass from Gordie Howe at 7:41 of the second period. It's 1-1.
Nine minutes and 8 seconds have elapsed in this, the second period. 1 goal separating the teams. 2-1. Montreal in front. Jared ahead for Dennis Hall, and it's called on the offside. Billy Ray is hollering out toward the officials, and Claude Ruel is chewing gum, as you see the coaches in the split screen. Ravlich ahead to Jim Pappen. Here's Bobby Hull working down on that right side. Provo sticking with him, with Russo coming back. Dick Duff going up for a puck at the Chicago line. Tried to set up the pass to Russo, but it was blocked by Jarrett. J.C. Tremblay shooting it toward the corner. And it's Ravlich, who missed all of last year, but has come back very strongly this season for Chicago. To Jarrett ahead to Dennis Hall. Over it goes to Pappen with a good shot, and he fired that one high. Here's Dennis Hall rifling one, and Pappen just deflected it wide. Ted Harris out for Russo. It misses him. Down the ice it goes. And with number 20, Jarrett, touching it, the Montreal Canadiens are called for icing. 9:57 left in the second period.
Just to keep the record straight, Danny, the most penalty minutes for one game, two teams, 204 on 36 penalties. The Canadiens and the Leafs, December 9th, 1953 in Toronto. Most penalty minutes for one period, that same game, 184 minutes in one period.
Schmatz, number 19, centering for Dennis Hull and Pappen against Richard, Lemaire, and Russo. Now it goes back to Howie Young. He shoots it wide. J.C. Tremblay clears it down on the wing. They're waving off any possibility of icing, claiming that Jarrett did make contact with it with his stick. And now is Jarrett to Dennis Hull. Hull coming down on that left wing. Goes to the line, cleared it ahead. Harris knocked it out. Jarrett feeding it back into the Canadian zone, and it's Lemaire there for Montreal. Ted Harris ahead for Richard. Knocked down by Nestorenko, who takes Ted Harris into the corner. They fight for it there. Harris kicks it away to Richard. In behind the net to J.C. Tremblay. Tremblay to Richard. Richard to Lemaire going in on the left wing. Lemaire falls with Howie Young. losing it to Richard. Now it's Nestorenko. Nestorenko ahead, and the pass too far for Dennis Hall. Bobby Rousseau over for Richard, broken up by Jard to Dennis Hall. Back it goes for Jard, and misses him into the corner. It's Ted Harris for Montreal. 8:45 left in the second period. A lead pass, Harris to Richard, who tried to lead it ahead to Rousseau, and it just failed. Out it comes to Dennis Hall. Down with Nestorenko and Schmotz. A long shot by Dennis Hall, and he can unleash the power with his shot. Esposito had to move quickly. Richard back in over the line. He's spun around by Nestorenko. Stapleton to Bobby Hull. Here's Bobby Hull in on the left wing, playing it back. He couldn't get by J.C. Tremblay, who feeds it off to Richard. Coming up in the play, LaPerriere, the shot, the rebound. And the Hawks, Gilles Marat shooting it down the ice. Icing against Chicago. This game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
Export Ale. Big in flavor, big in popularity, biggest in sales. Molson Export Ale, the thirst breaker.
In the first period, Beliveau scored for Montreal and Makita for Chicago. It ended 1-1. Montreal out shooting Chicago at 13-8. And Dick Duff from Provo at 4:16 for Montreal in this period. Now it's back to John Ferguson on the backhand. He scored!
Well, that's quite a return out of the penalty box for John Ferguson. He's pretty well gone the full cycle tonight. It's a backhander that seems to deflect off the stick of Gilles Marat as he went down on his knees in front of Dryden. And Fergie gets a great hand from the crowd. That's his first goal here at the Forum this season, his 6th of the year. And it's 3-1 the Canadiens with 7:56 left to play here in the second period. Billy Ray, of course, very unhappy with that turn of events.
Assisté de Backstrom à 12 minutes et 4 secondes. Canadian goal scored by John Ferguson, assisted by Backstrom. The time 12:04.
Backstrom getting the assist. The time of the goal 12:04. Montreal 3, Chicago 1. Now there's John Ferguson going after Bobby Hull, who gets away from him. Hull lost it. Provo's getting set for the shot, and he rifled that one wide. Hull from the corner for Chicago gets it out over the line. Hillman now on defense for Montreal. Here's Stapleton. He picks his way by John Ferguson. There's a penalty coming up. I think it'll be John Ferguson for slashing on Stapleton, and Ferguson is going off, and Claude Ruel is upset, coach of the Canadiens. Hockey Night in Canada is bringing you this game between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Montreal Canadiens. We'll return when play resumes. John Ferguson at 12:37. It's slashing against the Canadiens left winger. Now the Hawks with the power play lineup of Bobby Hull, Makita, Stapleton, Doug Moens, and Warm. Four of them down at center. Gilles Tremblay took it away from Makita. It goes to J.C. Tremblay. Stapleton over the other side to Warm. Warm handing it off to Stapleton to Bobby Hull. Hull at center, played it on the right side across the line for Warm, who digs to the corner against LaPerriere to J.C. Tremblay to Provo. It stopped at the point by Stapleton. He cleared it ahead, and J.C. Tremblay there again shoots it out.
The Bruins have taken the lead in Boston. Busick from Orr and Stanfield at 16:14 of the second period. It's now Boston 2 and Detroit 1.
One minute and 21 seconds remaining in John Ferguson's penalty. And of course, still out of circulation on their majors and minors, Lemaire, or rather Savard, and the Chicago player Orban. Bobby Hull cutting from in front of the net, being checked by Gilles Tremblay. It goes to Stapleton. Stapleton picking his way out. Back it goes to Hull. Hull gathering speed over to Kenny Warm off the boards. It goes for Makita. He cleared it in front. Hull was there, but it was blocked by Ted Harris. Here's Kenny Warren. Warren getting set off the boards. His pass is intercepted by Provo, who comes out and was stopped by Stapleton. Warren to Doug Mones. Mones clearing it ahead. J.C. Tremblay knocking it to center. Mones passing it back on the boards to Makita. And the Canadiens defensively very tight here against the Hawks. Killing off the penalty to Ferguson. J.C. Tremblay playing it on the boards to Provo. And Provo gets an opening, shoots it down the ice with 20 seconds remaining in the penalty. Bobby Hull gets it out on the left wing. Finally, Dennis Hull picks it up. Over to center ice to Schmatz. He's upended by Gilles Tremblay. Bobby Hull running into Provo. Provo flipped it down the ice. And the Hawks haven't had and have not had a chance to really get a good shot on goal with this penalty. Now that Ferguson is back on, we can say had. On the left wing, Dennis Hull going in there. He's behind the net. He centers it. Richard turning for Montreal, picking his way toward the left wing. Flipped it high in the air to center. Hull ahead to Schmatz. Schmatz in toward the corner. Turns on the boards. Getting set to center. It goes to Dennis Hull, and it's off his stick. Back to Jarrett. There's the shot. He's wide. Here's Bobby Schmatz trying to center it. Gets it again. And it goes out over the line. Lemaire is racing down with Russo. One man back. Lemaire, he fails to clear it over in front. There it goes to Russo. He scores!
Well, Jacques Lemaire made the best of a second chance. He misses the pass out to Russo and gets taken out of the play. But the puck continues, and Lemaire takes his man out, and Russo gets the pass out from in front of the net and flips it home. So Lemaire did double duty. Even though he missed the pass, he made sure he took his man out of the play, and that left it wide open for the pass out to Russo.
Canadian goal scored by Robert Rousseau, assisted by Richard and Lemaire. The time 15-19.
15-19. Russo from Lemaire and Richard to make it Montreal 4, Chicago 1. Now Jim Pappen a pass off the left wing boards for Dennis Hull. Over it goes for Pitt Martin. He couldn't pick it up, and it's Russo. Richard checked by Pitt Martin at center. It's cleared ahead to Richard. His pass misses Russo. Dennis Hull going toward the right side across the line, trying to barge in there, and he couldn't get by LaPerriere. It's cleared across the line. Ravlich back to Pitt Martin. Over on the right wing, Russo clearing it to the Chicago line. Dennis Hull with Dick Duff tipping the pass to the boards, then shooting it toward the corner. We have 3 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in this, the second period. Montreal 4, Chicago 1. Dennis Hull to Pappen. Pappen back for Pitt Martin. Here's Dennis Hull going in off the boards. The hard shot. He scores! Tremendous shot by Dennis Hull.
Danny, that's one of the finest shots we've seen here this season. It certainly is in the family, the way those fellas can let it go. And here's Dennis Hull on the replay. And look at that. Just outside the outstretched left leg of Esposito. It dinged the goalpost and caromed in. A great shot for Dennis Hull, his 7th goal of the season. And it's now 4-2 for the Canadiens with 3:29 to play here in the second period. Incidentally, during our second intermission, Ted Darling will chat with Jim Pappen, and that will be followed by a very timely feature, the Gump Worsley story. And Red Fisher will be along with his analysis of this second period of play.
Le but de Chicago, porté par Dennis Hull, assisté de Martin et Pappen, à 16 minutes 31 secondes. Chicago goal scored by Dennis Hull, assisted by Martin and Pappen. The time 16:31.
16:31, Dennis Hull with a blistering shot. And the assist going to Pitt Martin and Jim Pappen. 4-2, Montreal leading. Bobby Hull at his own line. It's left there for Stapleton. Stapleton coming up with Gilles Marat and Schmatz. J.C. Tremblay clearing it back into Chicago territory. Stapleton. And that's number 6, Backstrom of Montreal in deeply. Bobby Hull ahead on the right side to Schmatz. He's across the line, takes the high drive off the glass. Provo on the boards. Fails to clear it out. Chico Mackey lost it to Backstrom. Bobby Hull has it knocked away from him by Ferguson. Schmatz is knocked to the ice by Ferguson, and it's Stapleton. To center ice it goes to Chico Mackey, over to Schmatz, working his way toward the corner, getting set to center. It goes around the net. Ted Harris goes on the left wing boards, gets it to Provo. Provo up on the right wing, a pass. Ferguson racing after it. Schmatz played it on the boards to Bobby Hull. Stapleton neatly played it behind the net, and that's Murat with it. Back to Stapleton, coming out over the line. A lead pass goes to Chico Mackey, in off the left wing boards. Provo skating ahead of his check, Bobby Hull. Now is Gilles Murat failing to trap it at the point. Back to Stapleton, losing it to Beliveau. Bobby Hull coming to the line, over for Chico Mackey. Provo, a long pass through center, hits Schmatt. Stapleton to Schmatt, going down on that right wing. A neat move against Ted Harris. Going in, here's Schmatt going in. And Esposito came out slightly and blocked it. But Schmatt's pulled off a fine play for Chicago. Beliveau back, and it's called on the offside.
A few minutes ago, we saw the Canadiens hold off the Chicago power play, limiting the Hawks to maybe one shot in the net, if that. Chicago has the best power play in the NHL. 20 goals on 78 chances going into tonight's game. That's about 1 out of 4. Canadiens are 6th in the power play rankings. Not very good. They've scored 12 times on 70 opportunities.
Minute and 20 seconds left in the second period. Montreal 4, Chicago 2. Bill Orban waiting for Stan Mikita to get onside. Now it's Warren who is offside, and then Mikita flipped it in with Warren coming out. Savard to the other side is Gilles Tremblay. He's tied up by Kenny Warren, and the face-off will be in Montreal Canadian territory. The Hawks with the defense of Ravlich and Jarrett playing up. 1 minute now remaining. Ravlich. Beliveau got in front of that clearing pass, but Dryden came out to knock it to center. Warren playing it over on an open wing. Jarrett has it. Here's LaPerriere. It's hooked away by Warren, and Beliveau clearing it up on the left side for LaPerriere, and that break in by Beliveau brought the crowd to its feet. Now down on the wing at center. Mikita couldn't get anywhere. Jarrett, a pass to Kenny Warren. He's over the line. A pass toward the corner for Stan Mikita, trying to center it. He still has it. Back it goes to Ravlich. Into the corner to Mikita. Mikita centering it. And as J.C. Tremblay turning for Montreal. He's played a great game tonight for the Canadiens. Lobs it down the ice with 5 seconds remaining. Gilles Tremblay beat the Chicago player, and there was no icing, and there goes the siren to end the second period. The end of 2 periods, Canadiens 4 and the Hawks 2 from the Forum in Montreal. And in penalties in the first period, we have 45 minutes, 5 majors, 5 minors, and 1 misconduct. And I see that Chicago may be coming up with a new goalie here, Jack Norris. He's warming up down there. In the first period, the Hawks had 18 minutes in penalties and the Canadiens 27. In the second period, 18 minutes in penalties, 2 majors and 4 minors. So, Dick, that looks like Jack Norris.
He's been with the Blackhawks as their backup goaltender since the beginning of the season, and has appeared has allowed 5 goals, rather, so far this year. Norris is a native of Saskatoon and spent the main portion of last season with the Dallas club in the Central League. Played 5 games with the Blackhawks last year. Out of town in St. Louis, they're in the second period, Pittsburgh and St. Louis, and it's 1-0 for the Blues. Red Berenson scoring the goal from Schock and McDonald at 16:58 of the first period. So the fans down in St. Louis should be happy. The Red Baron has scored again. And there you see both goaltenders, Esposito and Norris. Esposito got a little taste of hockey in Texas this year as he was with the Canadiens farm team in Houston before being brought up when Gump Worsley left the club in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, and Norris on the left-hand side of your screen will be taking over from Dryden, it would appear here. And I think, Daddy, this is the first time that Dryden has been removed from the nets since the time when he began to play for the Blackhawks after being brought up from Dallas when Denny DeJordy was sent down. And certainly the play of DeJordy was a disappointment to Chicago. They haven't improved measurably, however, I don't think, in the standings since he left. And as Red Fisher was pointing out, analyzing that second period, the Blackhawks' defensive woes, as such, I think, go a little further out than their goal. They seem to make a lot of mistakes inside that blue line, and it's been costly to the team and especially tough on the fellows who have played goal for Chicago this year.
Okay, Dick, the attendance tonight, 18,087. That's the second largest crowd of this season. The biggest, 18,100 plus, was on opening night. Montreal 4, Chicago 2, and the Hawks are starting out with Hull, Mackey, and now Bobby Schmatz goes over on right wing, taking over from Nestorenko. Backstrom, Provo, and Ferguson for Montreal. Norris in goal. Marat clearing it ahead to Schmatz offside. In the National Hockey League tomorrow night, we have Toronto at Pittsburgh, Detroit at New York, Boston at Chicago, St. Louis at Philadelphia, Minnesota at Oakland. And on the entire CBC radio network tomorrow night, it'll be Toronto at Pittsburgh. Canadiens are idle. Now Backstrom working in, takes a high drive off the glass. Into the corner on the left wing, Bobby Hull flipping it ahead to Chico Mackey, playing it back to Stapleton. Stapleton, a pass to Marat. Marat ahead for Mackey at the Canadiens line, knocked out by J.C. Tremblay. Stapleton over on this side to Marat. Marat clearing it ahead, and a way offside on that play was Bobby Schmatz. 33 seconds have gone by in the third period. Bobby Schmatz is Chicago's top candidate for rookie honors this year. Gilles Marat clearing it into the Canadian zone. J.C. Tremblay, being watched by Chico Mackey, decides to go the other way, twists and turns again. It goes to Provo. His pass stopped by Bobby Hull. Hull back to Stapleton. Over on this side, Marat clearing it ahead to Chico Mackey, working in on that right side. Mackey is going in and goes, shoots! And getting his glove out there, that shot was a bit wide anyway. Getting his glove out was Esposito. Coming down is Provo, Stapleton to Bobby Hull. Here's Hull with that shot of his. Off the stick of J.C. Tremblay and among the spectators. And you know, out there tonight, it would appear, Dick, that J.C. Tremblay is just about everywhere.
Danny, he got in the way that time. And as you saw that shot of Bobby Hull after he'd taken the shot on television, I mean, so strange to see him there with that blood-stained sweater. And there's J.C. going off for a well-deserved rest. Danny, Alex Delvecchio is not playing for Detroit tonight in Boston. He's sidelined by a rib injury. That's the first game he's missed in 4 years.
Savard for Montreal, handing it off to Richard. He's on with Russo and Duff. Coming out is Savard, back to Richard, in over the Chicago line. Richard to Duff, and he almost completely fanned on it. It's centered. Pitt Martin takes over. He's belted there and got caught on the net. It's centered to Richard. A backhand shot by Richard. He's in too close to Duff. They score! Russo!
Well, we talked earlier about Bobby Russo scoring a fairly easy goal in that second period, but I think this one's easier. Watching the slow motion with Russo all alone at the side of the net, not a Blackhawk within 10 feet of him, and all he has to do is shovel it into a wide open net, and I do mean wide open. So the Canadiens take the lead now 5-2 here early in this third period.
And that for Bobby Russo is 12th goal of the year.
Assisté de Duff et Richard à 1 secondes. Canadian goal scored by Robert Russo, assisted by Duff and Richard. The time 1 minute 40 seconds.
Bobby Russo now has 4 goals in 2 consecutive games against Chicago. He got 2 on Sunday night. The Hawks clearing it in. LaPerriere gets it off the boards, out over the line. It's knocked away from Makita by Beliveau. And it's LaPerriere dashing back in. Savard is going to get a penalty, likely for interference on Kenny Warham, and Savard is going off. LaPerriere dashing back there, and Warham pursuing. Savard came over and was guilty of interference.
Pénalité du Canadien, Serge Savard. 2 minutes pour obstruction. À 2 minutes. Canadian penalty, Serge Savard. 2 minutes for interference. The time, 2 minutes.
2 minutes at the 2-minute mark in the third period. Savard for interference. Mikita, Warham, Bill Orban up on left wing with the Scooters. Bobby Hull back. There's the shot by Hull. He fires a hard one wide. Provo playing it back to J.C. Tremblay to LaPerriere. On the boards for Gilles Tremblay. He can't get it out, and it's slapped down the ice by LaPerriere. Jack Norris in goal for Chicago in this third period. Stapleton leading the 4-man attack on the right wing. It goes to Kenny Warham. He fires it toward the corner. Mikita going in. He centered it back. It comes to Warham over the other side to Stapleton. To the corner to Mikita. He fired it from a sharp angle. It's cleared to the point. Here's Stapleton. Shooting it in there to Kenny Warham. He shoots it right on. Esposito is down. Orban is banging away at it. It's high in the air. Cleared out to the line with the gloved hand of J.C. Tremblay, who nimbly gets away from Bobby Hull and shoots it down the ice. Montreal 5, Chicago 2. 58 seconds remaining in the penalty to Savard. Hull out over the line. Goes to center, having trouble with it. Provo clears it back to center. Stapleton. His pass stopped by Provo. Gilles Tremblay is coming up with him. Here's Provo going in with Gilles Tremblay. And a neat defensive play by Stapleton. Warham ahead to Mikita. Mikita winding up for the hard drive over the top of the net. Provo going down after it to the Chicago line. Jarrett is back there along with Bobby Hull. Provo is tied up by Jarrett. Hull over for Mikita. Mikita takes the long shot in toward Esposito, and as J.C. Tremblay from the corner, rifling it back down the ice with 10 seconds left in the penalty to Savard. Jarrett, a lead pass for Dennis Hull. Hull over the line into the corner, getting set to center it. But he's taken out of the play by J.C. Tremblay. Savard is back on. Dennis Hull going after it, plays it over to the other side, and it's out over the line. Jarrett flipping it ahead, and it's called on the offside. A reminder that this game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
Esso Uniflow, the super premium all-season motor oil, protects your car and your new car warranty. It's warranty approved from Esso.
We've played 4 minutes, 15 seconds in the third period, and Billy Ray now sending out a forward line of Schmatz on right wing, Pitt Martin at center, and Dennis Hull on the left side. And a line that has been hot for Montreal tonight. Richard, Russo, and Lemaire. There's a shot by Pitt Martin off Esposito's stick. Dennis Hull taken in on the boards by Russo. The puck goes loose. J.C. Tremblay there to pick it up. And Dipsy doodles in behind Esposito. Richard out on the left side. It goes to J.C. Tremblay ahead to Russo. Russo to the line. Richard moving up. There it goes to Lemaire to Richard. And he failed to make contact with the wide open side of the net. Ed Harris flipping ahead for Richard. Schmatz moving back into his own zone up on the left wing for Dennis Hull. Hull across the line, try to set up Pitt Martin. Martin to the corner against Ted Harris. Schmatz has it back into the corner. Pitt Martin trying to center it. He gets it out. Now it goes to Jarrett. There's the shot. And Esposito had no trouble on that one. That seemed to be a change of pace shot.
Bit of a flipper, I think, Danny. The puck was end over end as Jarrett couldn't really get it controlled before he let it go. Billy Ray watching. We mentioned earlier that Dr. Bill Orban, the father of Bill of the Blackhawks, is in the crowd, and he saw his son in quite a fight earlier in the game. I've just been told that Bobby Hull's mother, father, and sister are also here, so they saw Bobby in one of his infrequent battles as he tangled with John Ferguson in the first period.
Smattering of applause for J.C. Tremblay and Richard as they go off. They've been big guns tonight for Montreal. Pitt Martin. Here's Schmutz working his way in. Esposito plays it to the other side. Savard racing to catch up with it. Just flipped it out to center. Pitt Martin over to Ravlich. Ravlich a pass for Jard to Schmutz. Schmutz at the line. Fires the shot, but it's Dennis Hull who creates the offside on the left wing.
There's Matt Ravlich, who missed all of last season because of the badly broken leg he suffered just at the tail end of the season 2 years ago. This is our first look at him here at the Forum in 2 years. He was in uniform for 4 games with Chicago in the playoffs last year, but didn't see too much action.
Nestorenko, Mackey, and Bobby Hull, Provo, Backstrom, and Ferguson opposing. Montreal 5, Chicago 2. Savard feeds it on the right side for Provo. Provo ahead for Backstrom. He missed it with that pass. And it's icing called against the Canadiens. The next game here in Montreal will be Thursday night, and conceivably we could have a battle of the leaders, divisional leaders, St. Louis against Montreal. You know, Harry Howell of the New York Rangers, Dick, was telling me the last time that the Rangers played St. Louis, he thought that Doug Harvey played one of the finest games he had ever seen Harvey play. Howell says a bit slower, but the pass is just as feathery and just as accurate. So Harvey will be here along with Berenson on Thursday and the other St. Louis players. Bobby Hull winds up. The shot is on the target and holding on to the right goal post. Esposito. This game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
Protect your car and warranty with warranty-approved motor oils. Warranty protection, that's something extra from Esso.
Provo with Backstrom and Ferguson. Backstrom back to Provo, back to Backstrom into the corner for Provo around the Chicago goal, centering it, and Norris blocks it. Marat to Bobby Hull. Over on the right wing, Nestorenko coming up. Ahead it goes to Marat. Marat takes the shot off the stick of Esposito. Hull against Provo. Provo clearing it on the right side. And it's Savard getting some skating room from the corner. 6 minutes and 38 seconds have gone by in this third period. Marat, a long shot. Here's Bobby Hull off the boards. Hull getting set to center it. It comes to the side. Savard trying to pick his way out against Nestorenko. Backstrom skating after it with Ferguson down over the line. Poke check by Marat. Nestorenko to Hull to Mackey. Mackey is over the line with LaPerriere and Savard breaking it up. Stapleton dashing back to the Chicago line. Canadians now changing to Cournoyer and Beliveau along with John Ferguson, who stays out there. LaPerriere gets it back out over the line. Chico Mackey turning. And Canadians had 5 players across the line. Here's Beliveau going in. He shoots and he's just wide. Cournoyer trying to dump it in front. It's left at the side of the net. Chico Mackey gets away from Beliveau. Out to Nestorenko at center, hitting that Montreal line. Nestorenko puts on the brakes, feeds it ahead. Nikita races in. It goes to Cournoyer. Cournoyer shoots it. And Norris going down to block that bullet-like drive from Cournoyer. Ravlich with Nikita, Bobby Hull, and Nestorenko. Ravlich works in on that right side, trying to get it in front. Beliveau to Cournoyer. He couldn't come up with it. Hull turning, getting set for the shot, and it's blocked once again by J.C. Tremblay. Tremblay playing it on the boards to center with 11 minutes and 43 seconds left in the period. Montreal 5, Chicago 2. Harris to Gilles Tremblay. Cournoyer rolled it ahead, and it's Ravlich going back into his own zone. Howie Young, who has been used infrequently tonight by Chicago, shooting it down as the pace slackens off. Cournoyer for Beliveau. He would have been offside, didn't get it, and it's Mikita starting back with Bill Orban and Howie Young going to the line. Young got in front of Mikita. J.C. Tremblay hitting that Chicago line. Over the line, clears it toward the corner, and Ravlich goes in after it. Kenny Warm playing it ahead for Mikita. Orban is over on the left wing. Mikita over the line. On the boards, getting set to center it. J.C. Tremblay plays it off to the side, gets it himself, rolls it ahead. And this Tremblay has fantastic puck sense. Here's Mikita. A pass for Kenny Warm to Orban right in front of the net. And J.C. Tremblay got his stick out in front of Orban. Here's Orban from the corner, centering it. Kenny Warm scores! Warm!
Lanny, you're talking about puck sense, and we saw Kenny Warren with a great display of it right here. Bill Orban hung tough inside that Canadian blue line. Gets the puck. Watch the move that Warren makes as he sort of takes it on his knee down to his stick and flips it all in one motion into the top corner. And so Kenny Warren has scored for the Blackhawks, and that makes the count now 5-3. And for Warren, that's his 11th goal of the season. Boston leads Detroit 3-1 in the third period. McKenzie from Busick at 11:26. In St. Louis, Angotti has scored for Pittsburgh to tie that game. It's the Blues 1, Pittsburgh 1 early in the second period.
So the Hawks move to within 2 goals of Montreal.
Chicago goal scored by Kenny Warren, assisted by Orban and Young. The time 9:33.
9:33, a pass for Dennis Hall down the ice. And it's icing against the Hawks. That scoring play, Kenny Warm, his 11th of the year, with Orban and Howie Young getting the assist at 9:33. Back to Russo, the shot right on, and the rebound covered toward the corner by Norris. Marat over to Stapleton, ahead on the left side to Dennis Hull. Savard broke it up. Now Hull flipped it in, going after it. LePerriere clearing it on the boards. Here's Savard on the other side. Richard, and the pass for Richard nowhere near the mark. And the face-off down to the right of Esposito.
We mentioned earlier that Jim Pappen of the Blackhawks was bothered by a flu bug. Pappen has decided to call it quits for tonight. It got a little too much for him, and he has retired to the dressing room. Another lineup change, Danny, for the Hawks is the fact that Doug Moens has been replaced by Orban and others on that scooter line. Moens hasn't played since early in the second period.
Here's Bobby Schmatz in the corner. Off the boards, Pitt Martin goes to Dennis Hull. A shot on the short side. Esposito kicked it out. Savard starting out for Montreal. 5-3 the score. Dennis Hull slides a pass for Schmatz. He gets a very weak shot against the Perrier. Esposito ahead to Lemaire, down with Russo on the left side. Lemaire passed it from that left side. Now Dennis Hull is upended by Richard. LePerriere scooting back into his own zone, feeds it to Lemaire. He tipped it ahead of Richard. Richard going to the Chicago line, and there's going to be a penalty here. Pitt Martin was coming in there on Richard. Hockey Night in Canada is bringing you this game between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Montreal Canadiens. We'll return when play resumes.
You never know when your engine will let you down. It doesn't take much. In fact, just this much engine deposit can stop your engine cold. Only new Esso Extra gasoline with the engine cleaner prevents engine deposit buildup as you drive. Get clean starts, clean performance, Keep running on new SO Extra with the engine cleaner for more miles of trouble-free motoring.
At 11:05, Pitt Martin of Chicago goes out for holding. Face off to the right of Norris. Montreal 5, Chicago 3, J.C. Trombley over to Russo. He winds up for the shot. Nestorenko got his stick in front of it, and it ends up over the glass behind Norris.
Danny, a big night for Norm Ullman in Toronto. He's completed his hat trick, scoring his third goal unassisted at 15:14 of the third period. The Leafs lead New York 5-2.
Russo, who has scored 2 goals here tonight, feeds it over to Dick Duff. Nestorenko blocked it. Now he's coming down with Chico Mackey. Nestorenko over to Mackey. He's checked by Russo, who's going to get a penalty. It'll be interference on Russo. He knew it, Dick. He was on his way to the penalty box before the referee blew his whistle.
And there we see it on the slow motion right there. And, of course, the Chicago player did not touch the puck, and that's what made the call with Russo interference.
Time 11:24.
It nullifies the advantage Canadiens had with the penalty to Pitt Martin. 8:36 left to play in the hockey game. Canadiens leading 5-3. But, Danny, another goal by Chicago right here could point us to a very lively finish.
And toward that end, they send out Bobby Hull with Chico Mackey. There's Howie Young's shot. It's blocked. Howie Young gets it again. He shoots it wide. Over on the other side, Ravlich. His shot is blocked by Backstrom. Ahead to J.C. Trombley. Trombley plays it to center. Chico Mackey to Hull. Hull at center. Over to Mackey. Mackey is across the line going in. Mackey has it getting set to center, and he dumps it out in front of Bobby Hull, who is checked by Provo. Ted Harris. And Provo doing another great job on that great Golden Jet of Chicago. Howie Young back in his own zone. Pitt Martin now has 1 minute remaining in his penalty. Russo 1 minute and 18 seconds. Bobby Hull jumps by Provo. J.C. Trombley to Ted Harris. Over to Trombley again. Makita's on the ice now for Chicago, off the boards to Provo. Provo with Beliveau, a long bouncing shot. Ravlich trying to get something organized and something moving offensively here for Chicago. Gives it to Howie Young, who can move. He's down on that left wing. Stopped by Provo, who just rolls it back to the Chicago blue line. Ravlich to Bobby Hull. Hull away from Beliveau. Beliveau after him again. Harris. And Hull bump. Hull stays with it. And Ravlich up on the right wing for Makita. Makita for Ravlich. It goes between his skates. 7 seconds left in the penalty to Pitt Martin. Provo coming down the shot, and his shot was wide. Ed Harris to J.C. Trombley. Pitt Martin is back on, and the Hawks have the advantage. And Harris just sends the Chicago team back into their own zone. Up it goes to Schmatz off his stick. Lemaire to LaPerriere to J.C. Trombley, and here's Russo back. With 6 minutes and 30 seconds left in the hockey game, Howie Young shooting it in on the wing. Trombley being pushed there by Pitt Martin, starts out over the line with Russo and Richard. Lemaire is trailing. J.C. Trombley bounces that patented shot of his into the corner. Bobby Schmatz plays it by Russo. Richard goes after him. Now to the other side, Gilles Marat. Up on the left wing off a stick. Savard almost fell against Dennis Hull. It goes to Russo. Russo to Lemaire. Lemaire over the line. Back to Russo. Back to Lemaire. He tries to cut in front. Passes it back. And Dennis Hull is starting away with Bobby Schmatz. Hull goes to the line. Couldn't get by Savard. Russo ahead for Richard, going in for the shot, and he was offside. This game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
SO Extra gasoline action cleans your carburetor. Keep running with SO Extra for trouble-free happy motoring.
Don't forget, at the end of the game, Red Fisher will be along with his analysis of the game and 3-star selection. Savard turning at the Montreal line. Ahead it goes for Rousseau. Too far, Pitt Martin. Playing it back to Gilles Murat. To Dennis Hall off the boards. And the Canadiens with the 2-goal cushion and just about 5 minutes and 15 seconds remaining in the game elected opportunities as they present themselves here to just try and get the Hawks back into their own zone. Now it's Stapleton falling against Richard. Gilles Murat ahead to Dennis Hall. Hall's pass stopped by Dick Duff to Richard. Richard going in with Rousseau. Now it's over to Dick Duff off his skate, and Norris cleared it to the left side. Gilles Murat starting out. It goes to Pitt Martin, back to Dennis Hall. Hall working his way in. It goes to Bobby Schmutz's shot. Esposito coming out on the short side. And the Hawks came close there to getting the goal that would put them right back into contention. Richard slapping it off the boards to Dick Duff. Duff's long shot into Norris, and Montreal making changes while the play goes on. Now we have less than 5 minutes remaining. A Perrier to Richard. Richard handing it off to Cournoyer. Cournoyer to Gilles Tremblay working in on that left wing. And the shot is off Murat's stick in among the spectators. This game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
Only Esso has everything you need for trouble-free happy motoring anywhere in Canada.
Boston now leading Detroit 4-1. Gilles Tremblay rolling it ahead. Howie Young up off the left wing boards. It finally goes to Orban over on this side to Kenny Worm. He has scored one of the Chicago goals. Worm goes to the line, and Beliveau took a swipe at it, and it's back to center. Ravlich barging in, falls against Ted Harris, and as J.C. Tremblay against Makita. Gilles Tremblay comes to the side, out to Cournoyer, down with Beliveau. Ahead for Beliveau, he takes it in over the line, and it's called on the offside. And we've reached the 3-3-3 mark remaining in the period.
That fourth Boston goal came late in the third period. Johnny McKenzie from Stanfield and Busick at 17:50.
Cournoyer backhanding it to the corner. Ravlich lining up with Makita, Worm, and Orban, who couldn't get the pass. J.C. Tremblay to Gilles Tremblay. That misses two. Very close checking here in the dying minutes of the third period, and that always makes for rather scrambly type of hockey. Now it's Howie Young missing on that pass to Makita. Ed Harris back to J.C. Tremblay. Tremblay returns it to Harris and then plays it down into the Chicago zone. Toronto 5, New York Rangers 2. And Canadiens, if they win, and of course if the Rangers lose, Montreal will go into undisputed possession of first place. There's the lead pass for Cournoyer from Beliveau, and Ravlich knocked it back into the center ice area. J.C. Tremblay to Cournoyer. Cournoyer to Gilles Tremblay for the deflection. Beliveau goes to the corner around the net. He centers it. The Hawks trying to get out. Ed Harris over to J.C. Tremblay. Tremblay can have his back turned. He seems to come up with that pass. The reception of the pass that time. He's having a great night. J.C. Tremblay coming down to the line, over the line, takes the shot, a hard one, the rebound. Gilles Tremblay missed it, and Ravlich finally gets it off to the right wing. Here's Ted Harris going in for the shot. He scored!
Ted Harris let that one go from the blue line. Whether or not Cournoyer touched it, we're not sure. Let's see if we can check it on the slow motion replay. There's Harris winding up. Cournoyer skating in front with his stick up, and it gets in behind Norris on the short side. I'll be brave, Daddy, and say that Cournoyer did not touch the puck. Ted Harris, if it does count, for him will be his second goal. There it is. Ted Harris unassisted.
It's a goal. Canadian goal scored by Ted Harris, unassisted. The time 18:01.
And that's the greatest number of goals scored by Montreal in any one game this year. It's final now. Toronto defeated New York 5-2, and the big gun there for Toronto, Normie Ullman, with 3 goals. Montreal 6, Chicago 3. A Perrier back to Savard, off the boards. It goes to Provo, coming down with Backstrom and Ferguson. In behind the net, Marat. Backstrom now goes after him. It's fed up to Mons. Mons out to Chico Mackey. Mackey for Nestorenko. And LaPerriere gets it back to center. Marat fades over toward the left wing, shooting it in. And at times when Chicago comes up near that Montreal line, you will find the defense of the Canadiens and also the forward line strewn right across. And Marat lost it. Backstrom rolled it ahead, 1 minute and 13 seconds. Nestorenko feeding it in front to Gilles Marat. Marat comes out slowly, goes to center, winds up for that hard, long drive, and Esposito deflects the souvenir. That goal by Ted Harris, unassisted, 18:01 for Ted, his second of the year. From the face-off, it goes over to the far wing. Provo rolling it through center. And we now have 56 seconds remaining. Icing, they finally call it. And the face-off will mean that Chicago now will send every skater out there into Canadian territory. So the Hawks, as we mentioned earlier, scored upon the most 70 times going into tonight's game, have more than kept up the average tonight, giving up 6. There's Marat taking a weak shot to Savard, laying it on the boards for Provo. Provo, a pass to center. Stapleton feeds it back in on the right side, and LaPerriere for Montreal. LaPerriere misses on the pass to Lemaire. Stapleton ahead to Mons, to Chico Mackey. Mackey over the line. Here's Nestorenko turning back near the point, trying to keep it in. It's off a stick. There it goes to Lemaire, going right in on goal. And it was blocked easily there by Norris, as Lemaire elected to shoot it from well out, and it wasn't one of his patented great shots. Savard back into his own zone. 7 seconds remaining. Now Ferguson takes it on the left wing. And that's the hockey game. It ends. Montreal 6, Chicago 3, and the Canadiens go into first place. Final score once again, Montreal Canadiens 6, Chicago Blackhawks 3. In just a moment, our 3-star selection.
If your car is less than 2 years old, you can take a minute off now.
But if your car is more than 2 years old, I'd like you to take a look at these 2 batteries. They've each been used for 2 years. Let's see what happens when we give them our acid test. This one, it'll be going strong next May. This one, it'll probably give up on our first sub-zero morning and leave its owner standing around in the cold. Now you can give your battery the acid test at any Esso dealer. It's quick, it's free, and to make it worth your while, we'll give you a certificate. This one. It's worth $5 when your battery does fail. And that's pretty good, because an old battery is only worth $1 or $2. So pick up your $5 certificate and take the acid test where you see this sign. Another good way your Esso dealer can help you enjoy a trouble-free winter.
Okay, Paul, let's go back to hockey night in Canada.
Final score, Montreal 6 and Chicago 3. And here, as advertised, with his 3-star selection is Red Fisher. Red, let's go 3-2-1 up the scale.
Take 3-2-1. I started with Pat Stapleton as number 3, Bobby Rousseau number 2, and Jean-Claude Tremblay as a big number 1.
Jean-Claude, of course, tonight, as Danny mentioned, played obviously his finest game of this year. This was the Tremblay we've seen in the playoffs the last couple of years.
There's no question about it. I'm a little surprised that he picked the game against Chicago to play that well, because normally he doesn't really play that well against Chicago, but tonight he was magnificent. He was on the ice, I'm certain, more than anybody else on either club, including Bobby Hall. I look back to the first period when